Hmm. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Training and Client Business Support for eTruckBiz. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. The attendee list is still growing, so if we can give it about another minute for everybody to get joined, and we'll get rolling. Alrighty, seem to have leveled off here. I'd like to welcome everybody. Once again, I'm Ken Kibler, Director of Training and Client Business Support for eTruckBiz. Thank you for coming to our Tuesday webinar where we talk about some of our normal topics on the volume trends as well as productivity trends, and then get into some details on the Network 2.0 packets that a lot of them were sent out last week, and I know some of you on here may have gotten some. Some of you want to know, hey, what's in those new shiny packets that they're sending out. So we'll cover that today. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to those as we move along. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Jeff Balzac.
So as we need to do every week, we need to make sure that you know that eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Corporation. Okay, here's the deal. Volume trends for last week. As most of you know, you've been seeing some different things happen to the different systems with FedEx, and last week's volume data wasn't available because our real-time API connection had a little issue on actually Friday of last week, so messed up the numbers. So we don't even show them to you until we fix that up. That. But we do want to know if you know your easy number. What's an easy number? The average number of stops per dispatch you need to achieve your financial plan. Do you have a financial plan? Where can I find my easy number? The easy number is right up here, upper left-hand corner of your boss dashboard. If you've gone through one of the sessions, if you don't know what that is, what's it costing you? You've heard us said this for a long time. Does FedEx calculate this for you? No, they don't. In fact, they don't provide you any kind of expense budget or any kind of budget or expense plan. If you want one, stay tuned. At the end, we will show you how to get that. Okay, in the news. So last week we talked about UPS's the earnings were about to come out. Everybody was doom and gloom, and everything was bad was going to happen. Well, guess what? Oops. Again. UPS tops quarterly profit estimates on rebounding volumes. Shares jump. Parcel service exceeded Wall Street estimates for quarterly profit on Thursday ahead of the peak holiday season, benefiting from rebounding volumes and effective cost controls, boosting its shares 8.3% in the pre-market. The company also raised its full-year adjusted operating margin forecast. UPS has been seeing volume growth in the U.S. since May. They have? UPS has been seeing volume growth since May. Didn't they just tell us a couple of quarters ago or a quarter ago they didn't see that? Okay, whatever. Following 9 quarters of weak demand after pandemic-induced lockdowns. Still blame that. and then inflationary pressures crimped some e-commerce purchasing. Its third quarter domestic volumes grew 6.5%. How can that happen when they were telling everybody volume was down? So I actually was down. It's up 6.5% from being down about 10. However, a large portion of the growth has been driven by new e-commerce entrants, identified by industry experts and shoppers as bargain retailers. I don't even know who this is. Shine? Is that right? Shein and Temu. This has exacerbated the shift from premium air services to less expensive round services, and then to the even more low profit SurePost services, where UPS picks up packages and hands out 60% of them off to the Postal Service. The company had slashed its full year adjusted operating margin target to 9.4% in July. Oops, things were bad then. Despite an uptick in U.S. volumes because of the shift, it now expects a full year operating margin of 9.6%. UPS seems to be controlling what it can in the late stage. At this late stage in the cycle, said this guy from Evercore. And boy, just like that, bounced right back. Funny how that. All right. So most of you don't know. The big news is that Network 2.0 information packets are being distributed all over the place. Now, just so you know, and hot off the press this morning, is the at least for today, the implementation schedule, as we've tried to tell you, is being accelerated. That is also true. And, well, at least as of today, it's true. And not everybody's going to start at the same time. So some of you that already got these show a stand-up or a startup of like February 1st. It doesn't mean that the next week there won't be some more. The next week there won't be some more. If they're going to roll all these out in the aggressive schedule that they talking about doing, it's probably going to be different groups on different weeks, not necessarily once a quarter. However, they could also change their mind back, so we'll see. There have been some modifications since the last optimized CSA implementation. Okay, we're going to go over those here in a second. So let's go through the current version of the packets. Okay. So the first thing in the new packets. Location service areas. So what we saw the first time around, actually even the second time around, CSAs weren't necessarily, although they could have been, CSAs weren't necessarily adjusted when they notified contractors of the express volume coming in. They were notified when you finally got to the negotiation part of this whole thing, which we'll get to that in a second. But at least up front, looks like they're gonna go ahead and change some things about a station's service area. Now, in this particular, I don't want to tell you where this is, although you might figure it out. Some major service area reconfigurations, even before, as I just told you, even before the optimized service area negotiation. So there's a separate negotiation for this as well. Some big time areas being serviced by express. Okay. I don't want to tell you where this is, but there's a hole in this map. And the hole in this map happens to be the downtown metro area of this particular station service area. And everything in that hole is going to be serviced by express, at least for the near term. Makes some sense. All right. So what's going to happen to my individual Okay. The answer to that is we of course don't know, but we do know that in the terminal service area that we just showed you, one of the contractors in that terminal CSA or that terminal service area was offered a completely different new CSA and a completely different terminal. One, in this particular terminal's case, the largest contractor in the terminal was offered one zip code. Showed you. One was not told that they would be extended a contract at all. Most either gained or lost zip codes, so that for sure in this particular terminal service area, they shuffled some of the zips based on who was coming, going, and everything that's going on. So that was the big, this is a very big deal. Now, here's the thing about this. It appears, now listen, it appears they want CSPs who are in control of their businesses. Okay. I want to say a lot more about that, but I'm not good. Third thing is service demands and volume. So they're showing here in the table here on the left, standard dispatches and stops per dispatch. Now, some of you have seen this before. Some of you, this might be the first time, but this is real important here. They're showing you how many vehicles that they would have that they would call a standard dispatch, right? And a standard number of stops per dispatch. It's very important to be operating at some level of efficiency and productivity. We have been talking about this for a long time, and this is why. The only way we're going to be able to survive in this particular new world here is that we have some handle on efficiency and productivity. And anyway, this is also where the standard budget model comes from. So those of you that have been through the sessions with Becca, and go through the sessions when we do the individual CSAs, you'll see this too. But this is where this all comes from. It all comes together. By the way, when they show weekly vehicles, this is an indication of a limit on the number of extra resources they think you need to use. Using more than this renders the model financially unattainable. Very important here. Let me just kind of say this as simply as I can. Throwing trucks or resources at this issue is not going to solve, it's not financially doable. You can, but you won't realize the margins you're supposed to do on your businesses. Fourth thing, there's some new, not necessarily new terms, but let's go through these. For some folks, these kind of might be sort of new. So let's just look. Of course, you got your ground volume, goes to commercial locations, home delivery, which are basically residentials. So you know that economy refers to FGE. So this is one of those, a new acronym here that we need to.
Used to be called Smart Post.
Typically delivered to residential locations, of course. Let's go. Ground pickups, we know what those are. Express, so just packages with FXE, with an FXE label, which a shipper has selected some sort of express service offering. There are several express service offerings, but that's not what we're looking at here in a second. Residential express, which is sort of like Smart Post and home delivery, but it's the express side of things. Commercial express. Express service volume destined for a commercial address. Express pickup volume, express service volume picked up from a customer. So that's not necessarily earth-shattering stuff, but we'll need to know that here in a second. So package data by service. So another thing that's going to be shown in these packets are different levels of service and what's going on here. So you've got the usual ground services, and they're going to tell you in this case these are packages. So how many weekly packages you can expect in the upcoming 3-4 months. And in this case, express deferred services, the express saver and whatnot. Most of these, not all of them, but most of these are already on your trucks. And of course, ground pickup volume. Now, express residential volume, and they will express it in terms of time definite designation. So in this case, there are 177 packages, supposed to express packages that'll have a noon time definite or time commit of noon for the month of, or was in the month of March. Hopefully that made sense. Then express commercial deliveries, same thing. How many 1030s there are in this case, packages, right? And then express pickup stops, but there's something coming up on here in a second. Then a different breakdown. Oh, no, stand by. This again. Then a separate breakdown of stops. Tell you. Then there's a section of station operational changes. And yes, there will be some, which mostly means different times for, well, let me read it. To meet customer expectations and service commitments, changes to station preload operations, including preload times, number of preloads, and handling and loading responsibilities, and return to station times may be necessary. Watch that number of preloads thing. They're not going to show that necessarily yet, but it's coming. Okay, because of these later preloads, and as you'll see here in a second, a shorter operational window, that's the main reason for the need for additional resources or more trucks. Oh, that's also a smaller operating window, right? And even better, the operating window could be different on different days based on all the things going on, how they move, how the line haul networks move and the aircraft and everything else, right? So we talk about complexity before. Here you go. Things are going to start getting a little more complex. You might have to have trucks back at a certain time, or they get dispatched at certain times on certain days. And now, the real shocker. Pickup stops. What does that mean? That means the number of pickup stops that you're going to perform is going to double or more than double. Right? So if you look in this one here, it says ground pickup stops 209 in the case of March of 24. Express pickups were 220. Now, most of you know, not all, but most pickup stops occur when? In the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Which
After
means,
2.
yep, and which means if we bring our truck back at 2, then what happens?
No truck can't make a pickup.
Can we make those pickups? Exactly right. So this is what FedEx is concerned about. This alone will cause drastic operational management change, right? It used to be, and we've said this before, we're going to say it again, used to be, we used to load them up, get them out of there, and just hope that they all come back in one piece and they make all their pickups and everything's fine. And you just let them go, and then the drivers could circle stops all over the place and do whatever they wanted to do and have a nice day, and life was good. But it's just not going to be that way anymore. And this is why FedEx wants you to be able to focus on revenue producing strategies and tasks. Said that before, just telling you, they want you to focus on here. And that's why there's the business support system. It provides help and answers to the shift in the operating model. Keep in mind, the ASM program helps you get rid of your non-revenue producing administrative tasks. We're going to talk about the OPP program here in a second. And of course, we got to watch our money. When all this starts really accelerating and going on, it's going to be tough to watch your expenses, right? So Ken and Bob are going to talk about some things that can happen for you in the OPP program.
Yeah, it all starts with some engineering, and one of the things that Jeff showed is the trucks being on the road optimal number of hours, because those pickups that are being added, half of them are going to be same day on call. So you're going to have people out there, and those pickups might not have been on that pickup listing at the beginning of the day. So one of the best ways to combat that and control the hours would be scheduling your employees on 410 schedules, and we can help set those up for you. They're extremely beneficial, especially in a 6 and 7 day operation, because what it does, it rotates the days off, and every fifth or sixth week, your employees will then get a 4 day weekend. And you know, what's it also do? It allows you to get 20% more work on the truck, and consequently, uh, if you can get 20% more on the truck, it's going to add to the revenue per dispatch. And when you add to the revenue per dispatch without increasing your cost, or slightly increasing your cost because you're paying for 10 hours now, it's going to be extremely beneficial and help your financial results. Utilizing part-timers. That window is very condensed. You can see a lot of those dispatch times are 9 o'clock in the morning. Some people have a lot of stem miles, or even a half hour stem time. If I dispatch at 9 o'clock and I've got a half hour stem time, I don't start delivering until 9:30. How many stops can each one of my drivers get off? So, because it's very limited there. So, am I better using some part-timers uh, to help in the morning? And then can I double utilize that truck for some part-timers to help in the afternoon? Hopefully you don't need them in the afternoon if you're dispatching the rest of the trucks with full days loads, that they can still handle the work on them, because most of the return times that we're seeing are drop dead times, have to be back between 6:30 or 6:15 at 6:30. So once again, your 410 should cover that with some part-time help in the morning uh, to help there. So, and what do you have to do with part-timers? You have to pay hourly. So I would definitely recruit some part-time people, have them in your pocket. It's a very economical resource for you. The route engineering is absolutely critical. With the route engineering, you're going to find out that you're going to have to utilize the dynamic anchors. Uh, and can you have just some part-timers out there for pickup routes? Absolutely, they can be engineered and can be profitable as well. Bob, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, last week when I was down in Huntsville, we were leaving the office and someone was picking up from a drop box at 6 o'clock, wasn't it, Jeff? And it was pitch dark. they were picking up, and that's what you're going to have.
Yeah,
You guys noticed, the amount of pickups that CSP had, it doubled. What are you going to do when your pickups double? And that's a lot. And of course, they're not all the same. Some will be more, some will be less. But you've got to start talking to people now and start planning. I know we got peak right up on us, but each of your work areas are becoming more dense right now. So this is the perfect time to start working on that, because you are going to have that density coming, not just after peak, but moving forward. So, keep an eye on that. And then, with the OPP, we do the Vetter Watch, that allows you more time to be focusing on looking at your routes, talking to your people, doing observation rides. And then just the coaching. It's not just coaching about the DRO. It's learning how to use the FCC to track drivers, look at times between stops. Does someone, what do we need to do to help our people get up to speed? And then communicate that with them. If you don't communicate with them, you're not going to be able to achieve any of your goals. Your BC's got to know what the goals are. Your driver's got to know what the goals are as well.
And as Bob said, keeping an eye on what's happening during the day. That's kind of an accountability for the time definite stops, making sure your drivers understand the importance of running the truck in the order it's loaded and by the order of the time definite stops, and can you hold them accountable for that? Because there's some routing software out there that will let the drivers still do what they want to do, and that's going to be detriment to your business, and you can't have that. So how do you keep an eye on them? If you're messing with payroll, if you're onboarding employees, so that's where, once again, focus your efforts on revenue producing tasks, and then, because the engineering's great, but if you're not holding the drivers accountable and monitoring what they're doing on a daily basis, it's going to come back to bite your operation.
Hey, Ken, real quick too. When I was down there last week and, meeting with the CSP, I was in vans, checking out one van, and it had numbers all through the van. It was horrible. I mean, it had 85s up front, it had 85s in the back, but this driver likes running the route, a certain way. But, I took a look at it. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to end? We put in some anchors. We added some anchors into his area. So it made sense for him. And so he didn't have to touch every box. He was touching every box that came in the van. And he was it's probably 200 boxes, 200 plus. He was touching every one. I messaged with him yesterday. He said, it worked out great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm like, the whole goal is not for you to leave the building tired. There's no reason for you to have to touch every box. There's things that we can do in the DRO to, make it more beneficial. Now, some things we're not going to be able to do, and they're just going to have to go out and do it, run the route. And, those conversations, it's a conversation. But where we can make the changes, we're going to make the changes when it makes sense.
Right. Now, that's a great example of helping a driver work smarter, not harder. Will save that driver time, will save that driver a lot of effort. All drivers complain about big boxes, so why do I want to handle big boxes multiple times through the day? If I learned anything in my 30 plus years in the industry, handle a box once. So great point there, Bob. Jeff, anything that you want to add to these topics here?
No, I think though, I wish I could say this and everybody would pull up their OBRIDE form, but it's probably a real good idea to pull out the old term observation ride. I think those are going to be in order here, and you can't do observation rides when you're doing non-revenue producing tasks. So let's see if we can. Oh. There you go, Ken. Phil.
Okay, but as Jeff said, observation rides, you learn a lot. Because what you're doing there, you're checking what you engineered. That observation ride doesn't start on the road. It actually starts in the building to see how that driver is working that truck. Are they touching every box? I hope not. We're hoping they're going through section 1000, 1500, 2000, and 2500 and checking the floor. Yes, you probably got to go back to 8000 and see where the package handler likes to dump the surprises. But that observation wide gives you the opportunity to basically inspect what you're engineering and what you expect. So
there's a ton of things in those programs, folks, and we can tell you all about those programs and get you a free standard operating budget and financial plan along with your easy number if you will book a session with Becca. Most of you know what this is all about. We've been talking about it and the other thing is later this week, we're going to offer CSA financial evaluations, Network 2.0 CSA financial evaluation. So when you get your packet, it's going to mean something. Well, it means a lot. It means everything actually to your cost structure. So how will you expect to operate your businesses based on the new cost structure? It's actually a very, very big deal, and it's a very big part of the transition. So everybody wants to know how to get a hold of Becca. Here's how you do it. And I think there might be a couple questions there, Ken.
all right, here we go. Have contractors increased the daily pay for a 4x10 schedule? Normally, yes. Once again, if you're paying an 8-hour day and you're going to go to a 10, so you're looking at a 20% increase. And once again, what do you got to do then? I got to get 20% more work on that truck. It is available in Network 2.0 because these packages are smaller. You're going to get more packages and more stops on that truck. So yeah, there is some increase with the 4x10. And what you're trying to do is give your employee the ability to earn 5 days worth of pay in 4 while generating 5 days worth of revenue in 4 days. So that's the goal. So you can make it, I guess, not revenue neutral, but cost neutral. And also it gives your employees a lot more time off so they don't call off. It gives them long scheduled weekends. Once again, so your call offs will decrease. The other thing that decreases, now all of a sudden, if an employee calls off, they're missing 25% of their paycheck. So it becomes very costly for an employee to call off. So what we've seen is it definitely improves the attendance during peak. What it also does then, it reduces the number of extra people that you have to hire because then you go from 4x10 to 5x10. Okay, so it will do that, but yeah, it will cost you more, but you will reduce the dispatches and up front you're going to basically net the same thing. Okay. What did you mean FEC wants owners who are in control of their business? Hands-on as in the station owners? Jeff, you want that or you want me to handle that one?
Say what I got to say, and then you can clean up my mess I'm going to make and probably going to make. So I kind of glossed through this to begin with, but the station that we showed you at the beginning of this presentation, there are 3 very large contractors that are being displaced in that building, and they were not offered necessarily the opportunity to participate in Network 2.0. The reason is, there's several reasons, but does the terminal, all of you have been evaluated, if you don't know this at this point, everybody's been evaluated, and does the contractor have the ability, leadership ability, engineering knowledge, whatever you want to call it, to get the drivers to do what they need them to do, not necessarily what the drivers want to do. Those of you that we've had, that those of you, a lot of you know, and I'll tell you this again, FedEx will do whatever, I mean whatever, they think is necessary to protect the brand. They're not gonna tolerate, and they haven't, and they're starting to even, it's getting to be more now, they're not gonna tolerate drivers getting their iPads, reconfiguring their areas on a whim, missing 10:30s, noons, pickups, whatever, and then coming up with whatever excuse du jour they have. They're not, I don't mean to sound mean, but they are not going to tolerate it. And it was evident in the terminal I showed you. I'm not going to tell you which terminal it is. Unless you call me separately, I'll tell you. I'm not going to tell you what terminal it is. That actually has happened, right? And one of them was a really large contractor. Just they need contractors to protect the brand. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Ken, you had
Now,
something else you want to say?
I don't have to clean up much. That's pretty good. So you don't have to be there every day. You have to be in control of your operation. I think that's the best way to look at it. You have a good BC. That is critical, absolutely critical. Are you in contact with your BC? Yes. Is somebody in your organization monitoring the progress of the time definite shipments each day? I've got a customer who came to us from another routing vendor because they weren't able to track what the drivers were doing with the other software. In our software, you can see, basically have a hot list of the deliveries, and you can make contact with the drivers. So if they see that you are managing the process, even if the AO is not there every day and your results are good, remember, manner, method, and means. If your results are good, and that means efficient, productive, and superior service, then you're fine. You don't have to be in there every day. I mean, there's some AOs that are in there every day that are none of those. So being there isn't every day. This is about being efficient, productive, and providing superior service. Anything to add, Jeff or Bob? Okay, next
Hey,
question.
just that the UPS, you know, they had some good numbers. They didn't get those good numbers by drivers only being on the road for 7 hours.
Doesn't
No,
happen.
they're out there 9.75 now, or before it used to be 9.5. Now it's probably 9.75 and 10. Sure, they had some layoffs, but you know what? They're putting the work on the people. That's where it starts
Yep.
and ends.
I have been told of the market where 2.0 was presented to the CSPs, and all the CSPs were affected by changes to their CSA. FEC is keeping all of the in-town areas of only large cities served by the terminal and dispatching from small express stations nearby. That would be accurate, correct, Jeff?
Well, keep in some markets, that's absolutely correct. some markets, it's not, it's different in different places. Okay. I gotta tell you one more time, it's real important that you have demonstrated to FedEx that you have control of your operation.
And that goes right into this next question. Can an area get reduced in Network 2.0 to decrease the value of your company when it comes to selling your company? Yes. But if you are in control of your company, you're in control of the drivers, efficient and producing superior service, that won't happen. Okay.
So we just told you the kind of the bad side of it. If they perceive you to be a good contractor who demonstrates leadership, who doesn't have trucks coming back at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if you've shown that, they've already asked you if you want to be, if you would like to take on some other operations in other areas. And the reason they've also done that survey is because they know exactly what they're doing here. Some folks they're showing the door, and the other folks, they want them to move into those spots. They have to protect the brand.
Correct. This is kind of a follow-up. It says, however, the express station is woefully too small to handle the volume and the trucks required to serve this big city. Supposedly, the 2.0 plan has been put on hold until everything gets figured out. Have you heard this happening? And is there any recourse that CSPs can do when everyone objects to the plan presented? It's the size of the station is definitely taken into account as they make these decisions. Does the CSP really have any recourse? No. It was previously, they've noted that they can change your CSA at any time. They gave notification. They've met their legal requirement per se. Once again, as long as you are in control of an efficient operation providing superior service, I don't think you'll have to worry. Might you get moved? Yes. Will your CSA change? Yes, it will. We've yet to see one of these where a CSA has not been modified somewhat. I can tell you, we had a customer that actually bought their business because they lived within the CSA and it was convenient and everything else. They no longer live within the CSA. Now, he still has a very valuable CSA, no doubt about it. Just some of the convenience was taken away. Okay. If we have a question about the stops we will be gaining or losing, is that something you can help us with? Yes, we can definitely evaluate that. That is part of the 2.0 evaluation here. Because we're going to be able to tell you what the revenue is. We're going to be able to tell you what basically the revenue per dispatch is. All of that would be included, and what, based off of the number of dispatches, what you can expect on a revenue per dispatch. And if it negatively affects the profitability of your business, that's definitely something you will now have the facts and the numbers to go back to FedEx and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. And we've gone through that with the station before in the southern part of the United States. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
Well, we also think we've cracked the code on the expense model as well. Most of you already know that. We've done that through negotiation consultations, but we're going to start showing that to you now through the evaluations we're going to roll out later this week. There is something I want to say about the last question. The reason, one of the biggest reasons that the rollout has been delayed is there's a data problem between express and ground. Now they're working it out. It's okay, but that was the big problem. It didn't necessarily have to do too much with whatever else. It was mostly a data issue. But if they've got that figured out, and it appears that maybe that's being worked out, they're going to come at this aggressively. Just so you know.
A lot of great questions today, and which we're glad to see, because this is a big deal for your business. As I think we've stressed enough, and even if you aren't going to this in January, tell you what, you can start to implement some of these basics right now. It'll help you through peak. It'll make you more efficient at peak. It will keep your business under control and then put you in a good light when they do decide to implement Network 2.0 in your building or the building next to you. So definitely encourage you to implement these practices. Focus on the revenue producing tasks. Let us help you with those non-revenue producing tasks. Let us help you with the route engineering. Let us help you teach your team about dynamic anchors, proper loading methods, proper delivery methods. We can do all that for you. So I definitely would encourage you to take advantage of our services there. Another question came in. What percentage of ISPs are happy with their business going to Network 2.0? I don't have a survey. I don't want to say that FedEx doesn't care, but they're moving forward, full steam ahead. But they are committed to the CSP model, no doubt about it. They would not have spent millions of dollars at the FedEx Forward Summit if they didn't see this as a valuable model. And there's definitely, if they change the CSA, they're going to tell you the reasons for it. And if it doesn't make financial sense, you have to have the numbers and the data to show them that, hey, this doesn't make sense. And there's still a negotiation involved. As I said, we've successfully helped some contractors where it did not make financial sense at all, and we're able to get them what was deemed a fair contract at that point.
It should be said too that there are some that are doing very, very well.
Oh.
There's not that many that, there's only, I don't know, 50 something terminals either. Well, 37, but then plus whatever is going to happen here right away. There are some folks that are killing it.
Without a doubt. in a station close to me, I've seen a CSP who was horribly inefficient before became efficient, and now his revenue per dispatch is up almost $100 per driver day.
Absolutely. And that's what FedEx wants. They want contractors that are going to kill it, not make excuses, not point the finger at FedEx. It can be done. You just have to want to do it.
Not easy. If it was, everybody would do it and everybody would be successful, but you can do it with our help. I assure you of that. Will it change some drivers' mindset? Yes. Will you have to change some drivers' faces? Yes. But when a business is led successfully, it will be profitable. And I think a wise man, Gary Wade, once said, your business will get the results that it deserves to get based off of your engineering and effort put into it. So he said it a little bit different than me, though. So with that, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Jeff or Bob, Carrie, anything to add?
No, sir.
All righty. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Hopefully you found this information vital, because it definitely is vital to the future of your business. We will be back here to discuss it some more next week. And if we don't talk to you before then, please have a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much.